What's up, Cam?
Not much, Mitch. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. The lady told me that the recording was starting startled me again.
Yeah.
No, that's not. I'm not going to get used to that.
It's all good.
Yep.
But it's Saturday morning, Mitch. You know what that means. Not cartoons, podcasts.
Yeah, special coffee, too. I have my special coffee on Saturday mornings, which I'm totally out of right now. I've got it in my carafe here, but my cup's empty. So let's go ahead and fill that cup up. Little locally roasted Sumatra.
The stuff from last time you were talking about?
Yeah. It's the same stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. And if anybody's watching on video, I do have a quacking monkey lizard sitting on my shoulder. So,
there's that. Just slide that in there.
We'll talk about it on the next episode. So I just said that
is the most niche spoiler, like a teaser I've ever heard in my life. I've got a something monkey lizard on my shoulder. We'll talk about it next episode.
So I have the multicolored one, which, you know what, I'll save it for the next episodes because we're going to be recording our June 27th episode after we get done recording this one, just because somebody's got too busy on the 26th to record. So that would be Cam, which I was trying to give him a hard time, but apparently he's impervious to it. But you're making some money, I'm sure. So that's cool.
Yes. Shooting a wedding.
But we're going to jump right into the Apple keynote this morning because we don't have anything else to talk about.
It's exciting, Mitch.
It was super exciting.
Christmas in June, my guy. Let's go.
Yep. Somebody got what they wanted.
Most of what I wanted.
Yep. Most of what you wanted. But hey, there's a couple of big things that you talked about on the last episode that you wanted that we're going to talk about here in a minute.
For sure.
Pretty exciting stuff. So oddly, macOS Monterey, which I think I like this name. Big Sur I was a little bit on the fence with, but Monterey I like. Rolls off the tongue.
I'm still waiting for macOS San Luis Obispo.
I have no idea.
It's just the name of a city in California. So, and it would be really funny for them to name it something so long.
So in our first annual, what did I call it? Non-competitive, non-scored, but scored and definitely competitive prediction show. Well, I think you get a point here.
For macOS? Yeah, sure do.
Yep, you get the
shortcuts. Yep. I'm actually really excited about it too, because they have they've made it so that you can bring in your Automator, AppleScript, Shell script, JavaScript for automation stuff into shortcuts, which means they had to further enhance shortcuts abilities. And some of that stuff has made its way to the iPad and the iPhone because of it. So it's been a boon to shortcuts overall. But then obviously them putting it on the Mac, and you can have it in your menu bar. You can have it. You can have shortcuts in the dock. You can access them from multiple places on the Mac as well. So I'm excited to try that out once the public betas roll out.
Yeah. And I know that some of the stuff was going to be M1 specific. I think there was one note that I had about. I have to look and see what it was, but they. The spatial audio with AirPods is M1 specific. Like it's not going to be available on Intel Macs. So, which makes a difference to me because my Mac is an Intel Mac. So,
interesting. I suppose that's an odd. Assuming, I mean, there's two assumptions, right? Either it's impossible to do spatial audio on an Intel chip, which I don't necessarily think is the case. Or that's just one way that they're further trying to push people towards the new machines, which seems like an odd, like spatial audio feels like an odd thing to make that break on. Because it's not mission critical. It's a nice thing to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I'm going to make the assumption that it's a technical restriction.
I mean, that would make way more sense.
Yeah.
Than them being petty. But,
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on this one.
Yeah, for sure. We third-party apps and Control Center was your choice, which, man, that would have been nice. And you were not the only person I've heard say that wants that, but
yeah,
that would have been super cool.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, you just feel like Apple has to open up that kit, right? Menu kit or whatever they're going to call it to the public. So,
yeah, but eventually, hopefully, there's enough people that have commented on it and wanted it that I think it's eventually, I think we'll see that. So in iOS, we talked about, I wanted more interactions and widgets and a theming system, and I didn't get anything there.
No, this was shocking. Like, it didn't hit me in the keynote, but then afterwards I was thinking, I was like, holy crap, they didn't mention any changes to the widgets other than you get a big one on the iPad, as if the big one on iPhone isn't already too big. The big one on the iPad's massive. So they didn't mention anything about changes to interactivity in widgets. And they didn't mention anything about theming or shortcuts in that way, or like anything like that. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I thought for sure more interaction of widgets was coming.
Yeah. And I would have loved to seen, more animation in the widgets, or, just something to make them a little bit more fun, but you wanted to move the app library. Now, I have to admit that, before we started recording, I let Cam in on the fact that I've not had time this last week because I was on vacation all week to really sit down and dissect the keynote. So you're going to have to help me out here. I don't believe they moved the app library.
No, they didn't. It is still in the same spot all the way to the right on your iPhone.
And how about the shortcut automation alerts?
Oh, no, those are still there, Mitch.
Okay.
We both are 0 for 2 on our iOS wishes and dreams and hopes.
Well,
I figured they weren't going to move the app library. That was a true pipe dream, but I think it makes more sense putting it where I want it than all the way to the right. But I don't work at Apple, so. And then the ability to remove the shortcut automation alerts, like, just why can't I have this?
Okay, so before we came on today, before you joined the call here, I went through and I was going back and rewatching some of the segments. Which, by the way, if you go to the YouTube, Apple's YouTube page, and you go back and watch the keynote there, they have the keynote all chaptered up. So
that's nice.
Yeah, so that's really nice. So I use that as a structure for my notes. And then I was going through and making notes on the stuff, and iOS got some really cool, some cool stuff. The FaceTime updates with the spatial audio, I think, is going to be interesting. I'm kind of interested to try that. The voice isolation and wide spectrum audio enhancements. That'll be interesting to see how well they work.
Yeah, I'm a bit skeptical on the voice specific one, because even in the keynote, the audio, when it was like the leaf blower in the house, her audio sounded terrible when they used it. Now, granted, that's a leaf blower 4 feet away, which is crazy. So I think if you use it just like in a cafe or, in a car or something like that, it'll probably be really good. But because there's only so much you can do before you start losing, parts of the voice with the noise that you're rejecting. But yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah, so we'll see how that works in practicality. I think that's going to be kind of a theme throughout all of the new stuff that they've added to iOS and iPadOS. I'm really going to have to see how practical a lot of this stuff is, because there's some cool stuff. And I think that when you're looking at iOS for sure has a maturity to it that as they're building in new features, it's really enhancements to what's there. And at least that's what it feels like to me, with the exception of maybe one or two things. But the shared with you stuff in messages, or SharePlay for that matter, I think a lot of the sharing stuff is really interesting, what they're doing. So if you and I wanted to watch Star Wars on Disney Plus together, we could hop on to FaceTime and watch it together, and that although that's really cool, I don't see that you and I ever doing that, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think like I cannot think of being like, hey, so and so, let's watch a movie, and then I want to watch your face while I watch this movie.
Right.
Maybe if I have a girlfriend and we don't live like, you know what I mean? Maybe, but like, I don't know. Don't take this the wrong way, Mitch, but I would feel weird watching your face while I watched a movie.
Yeah, that would be weird, especially because I'm very sensitive when I watch movies, and I don't like people seeing me cry.
But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the shared with you stuff, because it's not just messages. It's like if I send you an article, it'll give you an Apple News link. If I share a podcast, it'll show up in podcasts. If I share music, it'll show up in Apple Music. Everywhere. It's like a system-wide almost sort of feature.
I'm of two opinions of this, and it's a lot of it's going to depend on once we get the updates, how it's going to really play out with how practical it is. I like the idea of what they're doing here. So if I send you an article and you don't get a chance to read it right away and it's gone, like I've had this happen before where somebody sent you something in messages and it's like, yeah, I'm at work. I can't deal with it right now. And now when I do want to sit down and read it, if I remember it's there, I got to scroll up and up and up because we've conversed in between then and now. And so now I got to scroll up and try and find that article, which, you know, having it in a shared with you area in news or News Plus, depending, but in the news app, I can go in and look at it and say, oh, there it is. Let's go ahead and read that now. The fact that they have an API available for it for third parties is cool. I think that's probably where I'm going to get more use out of it than trying to, you know, use just the Apple apps, because there's not a lot of Apple apps that I use. It's mostly third party apps. So as long as that works the way I think it's going to work, I think that'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'm a little on the fence with it right now, because it's really going to be like, how practical is this to use on a regular basis? And maybe in 6 months or a year, once we've had it for a while, we can look back on it and say, oh yeah, this has been a transformative feature, or we never use it anymore. So
yeah, I'll say I'm intrigued by the concept. But I want to see, like, in practice, is it going to be beneficial or is it just going to be annoying?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those features that I think sounds nice, but I want to get my hands on it and play with it and see what it's like.
Right. No, I really had decided. I was thinking about how we're going to structure the episode today, and I really thought it would have been a little more intelligent rather than going through and talking about this by OS. It almost makes more sense to talk about this by feature sets, because so many of these features go throughout the other OSs. You know, there's a lot of parity between your iOS, your iPad OS, and Mac OS. So, you know, stuff like the share with you and focus, which we can talk about in a minute here, and some of the other things, you know, just because they're on every OS, it almost seems more intelligent to structure a review of that stuff by feature as opposed to by OS. And I think that's the first time I've ever really felt like that, you know, because they've been really OS specific in the past. So it is definitely feels like they're now, and I think maybe the M1 Macs are making the big difference here, because they really want to have parity throughout the operating systems. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
So notification improvements, or you know, I think this is going to have a lot to do with what we're going to talk about in a second with focus. But there's a small redesign to the notifications. You're getting it a little bit larger images to help differentiate, you know, where your notifications are coming from. They really push this whole intelligence, on-device intelligence, which I think We're looking at a rebranding of Siri suggestions as on-device intelligence. So I think that'll be interesting too to see how that goes forward.
Yeah.
And something I think is going to be really cool is the do not disturb changes. So now if I have do not disturb set up and you text me about something, you'll know that I have do not disturb on. I think that that's interesting. I like it because sometimes, you like if I text my wife and she has do not disturb on, it would give me the option to say, no, I really need an answer on this and be able to push it through. Or if I'm like, okay, she can read that when she has the time, and that's fine. And I think this all plays into focus a little bit more, but I do like the idea that now in messages, you can see, the other person's, like, the status of where they're at as far as do not disturb.
Did they mention at all around that if you can select by person how that works? Because like there's certain people I might want to have that power to push through. Mm-hmm. There's certainly plenty of others that I don't want to have that ability.
Yeah, well, we'll know a little bit more when we get the betas and we're able to look at that.
Gotcha.
So I'll probably, depending on what I hear about the stability of the betas, I might do the public beta in July. And quite honestly, let's be honest, I'll do the beta in July.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not bricking people's devices, we should be fine. It's been pretty good.
I will say though, if I can't choose on a person by person basis that feature to be on or off, I'm going to be super annoyed.
So, but I'm super excited to see what they're going to do with this focus feature. I don't know how you feel about this, but the fact that I can go in and I can say, okay, here's the context that I'm in right now. So I'm home. So anybody can reach me right now. And, all notifications can come through or whatever. And this will play in a little bit too than like the notification summary. Mm-hmm. I love this concept too, because now I don't have to get notifications for everything. I could just at a certain time in the day, I can get prompted by the notification summary and say, oh, okay, here's some stuff that I want to look at. But I haven't gone through and filtered my notifications recently. And sometimes I like to get a notification from, a app that generally speaking, I don't get notifications. I don't really care about the notifications from. So, to have that summary kind of looks nice to me. I'll see what how it works in practice, but I think this will be kind of cool. And it makes intelligent suggestions for you as to how to handle different things. What I think is going to be really neat is home screens. That you can assign home screens to different focus groups.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
For me, if I'm working, I can have a page of apps that I use just at work. Mm-hmm. And that page will be available to me while I'm at work and it won't be available to me outside of work. Now, I mean, obviously you could get to it if you need to, but I find it really, really cool and really interesting that we'll have this ability. Now, how this is going to work, if it's going to be like geolocation, where if I walk into work, all of a sudden that page is available to me, or if it will be like time of day, or how the operating system judges where I'm at or what context I'm in or whatever. But I think this could be really cool.
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned geolocation or time of day. They just said it's tied to the focus mode that you're in. Now,
okay, maybe I'll need to change focus mode.
Ideally, you could make a shortcut automation. Mm-hmm. When I enter work, set this focus mode. When I leave work, set this other focus mode. Right. But you're going to get those annoying, running your automation. Yeah, I know. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Thank you for telling me. Like shortcuts needs constant approval. Got daddy issues.
I'm really looking forward to trying this and seeing how this works. And maybe it won't be as cool a thing as I'm hoping it will be, but it could be very interesting, because I've had the thought recently that, well, if I just have a page that's just dedicated to work stuff, then I could have that page in there. Now, did they say anything about rearranging the order of your pages on iOS? I know they did on iPadOS. Because you can, when you go into that view where you can see all your home screens and decide which ones you want active, they showed how you could rearrange them on iPad.
I missed that. I was probably too busy crying because I got what I wanted in a few other areas.
That's probably it.
Like I said, I didn't catch that, but if that's true, that's amazing, because it's been so frustrating that you're not able to rearrange those. So I hope you're right.
I'm 100% with you on that. Live text is pretty cool.
Yeah. So
the technology is cool. Yeah.
My initial reaction to this is a gimmick. Like, how really useful is this? But having listened to other podcasts and those folks discussing it, I think there's a lot more practical application for it than I first had realized. So I'm backing off this is a dumb gimmick feature to, no, this might actually come in handy in certain circumstances. So, but it is an impressive technological achievement for sure. What do you think about it, Mitch?
I think that they're, like, from a technical standpoint, it's not really using any crazy new technology. It's basically OCR. But I love what they're doing with it. The ability to select the text in the picture and be able to copy and paste it to other things. And I think there's going to be some really cool applications to it. I know that a lot of times, if we're at church and there's a whole bunch of stuff written on the whiteboard or whatever, as long as my pastor doesn't write it, it should be readable. It does have to be written legibly. But you can take a picture of that and be able to, it should OCR that pretty well. And then you can use that, in other apps or whatever. So some update to photos. By the way, in the live text thing, did you remember when he accidentally called the ice cream shop? He used the phrase, "I'm sorry, gotta drop." Did you catch that when he went to hang up? He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta drop."
Oh, didn't. Yeah.
Is that a West Coast thing? Because I've never heard that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, we say it all the time at work. All right, I gotta drop. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe it's something that comes more from like the I don't know, from like the Zoom meeting kind of thing. So I'd never heard it before.
Yeah.
Some enhancements to photos. Nothing too anything to get excited about. Basically, they changed some of the memory stuff and stuff like that. They made them searchable through Spotlight. Just kind of going back to a lot of the live text stuff. Wallet. Did you get excited about any of the stuff in Wallet?
I gotta be honest, I don't remember it at all. I was so focused on the iPad for this WWDC that like afterwards I was like, no, what else are they going to talk about? I was like, oh yeah, the watch. Oh yeah, the Mac. Like, I totally forgot. I was so focused that once the iPad stuff happened, I was like, oh man, there's still a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. So they talked about keys and how they've adapted this whole thing with car keys, but now they're working to move that
house
into
keys,
your home, into work. Like, if you have controlled entry at your work, and being able to use it with
hotel rooms.
How about IDs? How would you love to have your driver's license in there?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I'm thinking I would enjoy that. I don't know how safe I would feel running around without a driver's license on me with this as the other option. I mean, the fact that they're working with TSA to make this a thing for getting through security.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. Some updates to weather. I'm really excited about the updates that they were talking about with maps.
Yeah.
Because I use Apple Maps a lot for driving, and the fact that they're going to bring a lot of these advancements to CarPlay later as well. I love the idea of being able to see all the lanes and crosswalks and all that kind of stuff, elevation, all that kind of stuff in Apple Maps. I think it's a big, big upgrade.
Yeah, they have certainly come a long way from where they started.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not great.
And some AirPods updates, that conversation boost. I think I would appreciate having the ability to put my AirPods Pro in and be able to. Now, I've talked to my wife a little bit about this because she just got a hearing aid not long ago. And the fact that she can run filters on that hearing aid to filter out background noise and stuff like that. Oh,
really? That's pretty neat.
I would love that. If they could just offer some kind of in-ear product that people can't really see, but you could sit and like filter the world around you. That would be amazing. And because I deal with a little bit of anxiety that can sometimes be sound related, that would be awesome to be able to just like tune out the stuff that you don't want to hear. Because with all the places that we were on vacation, being able to quiet the background noise, to be able to hear what my wife's saying better, that'd be cool. Like, I would really appreciate that.
I think it'd be awesome if they had an annoying person filter. You just turned on and then you just, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Wow.
Sorry.
That'd be great.
Spatial audio for tvOS.
See, I had already thought that was a thing.
Well, it's not. I think it'll like do kind of a 5.1 surround sound, but it's not spatial audio. Spatial audio is a little different.
Gotcha.
But I could be wrong about that too.
No, because they definitely announced it. And I remember thinking, wasn't that already a thing?
Yeah.
But it might have been specific to like the Apple TV app and those shows and not
maybe
system wide. I think that might have been my confusion. But
also they officially announced the spatial audio for Apple Music.
Mm-hmm. I was listening to a classical playlist yesterday while I was doing some work at the coffee shop with spatial audio, and it was lovely. And I decided to one of the songs on the playlist was the theme from Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. And I decided I need a heavy metal version of that right now, this instant, because it would be so good. Someone please make it. I'll pay you.
So we probably want to skip over the iPad OS stuff and move on, right?
Yeah, I will cut you.
All right. Well, iPad OS is next on the list here. Widget Moses, you freed your widgets.
Yes, they have let my widgets go. It's wonderful. It's about time. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the new larger widget size on the iPad is ridiculously big. I don't understand. But so they have let widgets go, which is amazing. I'm very happy about it. The downside is that the apps rotate again, or like they shuffle like they used to instead of just rotating 90 degrees. And I'm like, if that's the solution you came up with, why didn't we have these last year?
Yeah.
Because nothing changed. The widgets didn't get interactivity. They didn't nothing about them fundamentally changed other than you finally decided, okay, we'll just go back to rotating or to reshuffling stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if that was the one thing preventing you from doing it last year, why? There's it just doesn't make any sense to me other than they just changed their minds, which is frustrating. But I will be happy that we have them now. I'm excited about it. As well as, we got better multitasking as well, which was on my wish list. You can now use your keyboard to control your multitasking. You can have, the shelf so you can switch back and forth between all sorts of stuff. So that looks pretty cool. We didn't get Logic or Final Cut, which is a total bummer. They did beef up Swift Playgrounds, though, quite a bit, to the fact that you can now build an iPhone or an iPad app on your iPad and submit it to the App Store. So not full Xcode, but still a big jump in capabilities for the iPad. But the one thing that still doesn't make sense to me, in addition to the other things I've mentioned that don't make sense, why they put an M1 chip in the iPad Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, there was not a definitive, oh, that's why moment at all anywhere in the keynote, which seems really weird because we had all been waiting for that shoe to drop. Okay, this is great. They put the M1 chip in the iPad Pro. It's insanely powerful. Awesome. Why? And we're still asking that question after WWDC. And obviously, I had high hopes that it was going to be Logic or Final Cut or some pro application, right? That required, or that would have been possible on the new chipset. But now it's like there's zero reason to buy a new iPad.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the iPad you're working on is dying and old and, crippled because it's, a 2016 iPad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you buy the M1 chip iPad right now when you get an iPad Air way cheaper and they do the same stuff? It's very confusing to me.
Do you have anything to say about the new multitasking?
Yeah, the fact that I can control it and invoke it with keyboard shortcuts, the fact that it's not hidden anymore. There's that little icon that pops up and you can tap on it and you can choose which window. And then it slides over and you can go to your full app home screen and swipe around and choose what you want the other. Like, it's much better in that way. It's not perfect, right? It's not where I think a lot of people want to get to in the end, but it's discoverable and it's way more usable now than before. And I'm really happy with the changes that have been made. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm excited for that.
Did you catch Quick Note?
Yeah. So I think it's a nice feature. I don't use Apple Notes.
Yeah, neither do I.
And it's specifically tied to Apple Notes and is not open to third parties right now. So, like, would it be useful for just jotting something down real quick? Yeah. But I don't really use Apple Notes. So it's a cool feature. It seems pretty powerful with all the stuff you can do with it. Probably never going to use it.
Translate. They're bringing Translate to the iPad. There's some cool features there, but nothing to get too excited about. You mentioned Swift Playgrounds before. I think the improvements to Swift Playgrounds are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I look forward to trying some of this stuff out. So
yeah. Oh, back to Translate real quick. So there's a pretty decent, like the city I live in is a very large Hispanic contingent. Like, I think, like, no joke, our city's like, I think like 40% white, 30% Hispanic, like 28% black, and then like 2% other, so it's pretty diverse in that sense. And so as such, our church has quite a number of Hispanic families, and many of the older folks, in that family, Spanish is their first language, and some of their English is good and some is not. And so I think they have like a conversation feature now where, like, I can talk English and it'll translate to Spanish, and then when they talk Spanish, it'll translate back into English. Mm-hmm. And like, I have fun with one of the pastors on staff he's from Mexico, and I try and like ask Translate to say really, really stupid stuff, and then I say it to him to try and get him to laugh. But I think there's some pretty useful features. Since my Spanish is no muy bueno, Mitch.
Yeah.
Because I, in high school, decided to take French. Why? Because everyone takes Spanish.
Yep.
There's a reason German. Everyone takes Spanish, Mitch.
Yep. I took German because I have German heritage. And I thought, I'll take German. That seems good. Not realizing that Spanish would actually have been more useful.
Yeah. So much so.
Yeah.
So much so.
All right. They talked about privacy, iCloud. There was a bit of health.
Yeah. So the iCloud stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm actually very interested in. They essentially built a VPN into it without calling it a VPN. They call it a iCloud relay, which is pretty neat. And then there's the iCloud Plus, which is going to be part of the Apple Premium, I believe, which means I can get rid of my 2 terabytes because in order to store multiple HomeKit camera footage, you have to have the 2 terabyte plan.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some pretty neat features in the iCloud Plus with like the relay and all that sort of stuff that actually I was like, ooh, that's neat. So I'm interested in getting more details on that as, you know, it rolls out.
Sorry, I got to adjust Sylvanas here. He was falling off. His little magnetic thing was getting weird. All right, we'll talk about that on the next episode. All right, all teasers all over the place. I can't talk about it right now because we're going to talk about it in the next episode. So,
you know what?
Just lost him.
We missed.
You're
a
gonna have to wait.
Total opportunity, Mitch.
What's that?
We should have started the show on episode 4, 5, and 6, and then gone back and done episode 1, 2, and 3, and then jumped ahead to 7, 8, and 9.
Oh, yeah.
How did we not think of that?
I don't know.
That would have been so funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to talk about WatchOS.
We're just going to skip over tvOS.
Did they talk about tvOS?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, what did they talk about tvOS? What did they say? Because I don't remember it. I don't remember nothing about tvOS.
Nothing important, but there weren't widgets and there wasn't a fully featured home app. That's for sure.
Yep, so we got 0 points. 0 points on that one. But good thing we're not scoring.
Well, yeah, we are because I'm winning 2-0 right now. Anyways, so this no fully featured home app on tvOS. They put a home app on the watch, Mitch. The smallest device they make is, hey, Mitch, is the watch a home hub for HomeKit? No, it's not. You know what it is? The TV. It blows my mind.
All right, I just had to turn you down because you were yelling in my ear.
Yeah, I was. I'm calm now.
All right, good.
It's super frustrating. So yeah, let's lead that. Let's use that as a segue into WatchOS, which now has a home app on it.
Yep. And I said something about widgets on tvOS. It'd be cool, but didn't happen. So now they didn't talk about any accessibility features on the on WatchOS, which was my thought, is that we're going to see some more accessibility features. But they did talk about mindfulness. So updating the Breathe app to be the mindfulness app now. So you'll now have, there's some slight updates to the Breathe option in there, but they've added what they call Reflect. So it'll ask you a question and you can reflect on it and help you to de-stress. Do you use the Breathe app at all?
No, because it always pings me at the worst possible moment. And I feel like we've talked about this before, but like, it'll be like 11:30 at night and I'm laying in bed. Hey, take a minute to breathe. It's like, dude, I was just about to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like, of all of the other stuff that on-device intelligence does well, Breathe is terrible. It'll be like while I'm driving, you know, or at work, or like, why don't you do this right when I wake up, or when I'm on lunch, or when I'm not in a moving vehicle, where closing my eyes and taking deep breaths is probably a bad idea. So it's frustrating. So yeah, oftentimes I'll just mute it for the whole day. Just like, leave me alone.
Yeah. No, I ended up turning it off at one point because the whole Breathe idea, I appreciate what it does, but I had kind of decided at one point that what I would do is that it was more of like a reflect on God, and maybe just a reminder to pray or to recenter myself where I needed to be in that. And so I kind of repurposed it. Well, the problem is, you're right, it hits you at the worst times. So we're in the middle of unloading a truck at work, and I'm supposed to stop and breathe. It's like, well, skip that one. It never reminded me at a good time. So I just ended up turning off that feature. So there were some sleep updates to watchOS. Respiratory rate was one that they added. Again, I'm not sure how cool it is. They were pretty impressed with themselves adding it. So, but we'll see. They started talking about health, and then they brought up that they added Tai Chi and Pilates for workouts. Mm-hmm. So I misunderstood that when I first heard that and thought, they're adding that to Fitness Plus. Well, no, they didn't add it to Fitness Plus. I don't think they have Tai Chi in Fitness Plus, which would spark me to actually get Fitness Plus, because my wife and I have both talked about wanting to learn Tai Chi and use that. And my wife is.
I would imagine it's coming.
Yeah. Some updates to the Photos app. It looks a little cleaner, looks a little nicer. You can get through your photos a little bit better, and it's got memories now, so that's interesting.
Do you ever use the Photos app on your wrist?
No.
It's like I don't understand.
I have to assume somebody does, but
why would you look at photos on your wrist when you have a giant phone in your pocket?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Plus, holding your hand up so you can look at your wrist is way less comfortable.
Yeah.
Than looking on the bigger screen. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And then what I find is, if I was, and I looked at a picture and I was like, hey, look at this. And then the watch turns off because I'm not looking at it anymore. How many times has that happened to you where you went to show somebody something on your watch and it went black?
Well, my watch has the always on display.
Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, mine does not. I do kind of like this new photo watch face.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Particularly because of the portrait stuff. So a couple of the images that they showed were like portraits of people where the time was actually slightly obscured by the picture of the person. I thought that was kind of a neat look. So
yeah, it is kind of funny though, right? Like the point of a watch is to tell the time. So hey, we're going to hide half the time between someone's head.
Well, it just looks nice,
and it's a choice, right? Like you can choose to have that face or not, and it looks really cool. Like that the staggered depth of it. Like I really appreciate it, because then you got behind that the blurry background. So you've got like 3 stages of depth in the photo, which visually very nice looking, especially if it's a nice photo. Someone you care about. But it is kind of funny. It's like, hey, what's the one thing you probably want to know right now? It's the time.
Yeah. It's a nice way to check the time. So, and I heard this said on Upgrade this last week, but they mentioned in the keynote that the Photos watch face is the most popular watch face. I have to wonder about this because I don't know hardly anybody that uses the Photos watch face.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay, moving on.
I guess we're just not friends with normal people.
No, maybe not. So, did you want to talk about any of the home updates? Because I did not get any notes written in for the home updates.
I wasn't really impressed with them, to be honest. It still feels like HomeKit is in its infancy. So yeah, like the whole section was just like, okay, great. we can, now multiple people voice recognition. Well, it's already had that, it just, I don't know. It was more focused honestly on the watch app than anything. Cause now you can do like I can talk to someone's HomePod mini from my watch now. And the TV, I forget what about the TV, but the point is I was thoroughly unimpressed with the HomeKit section of the keynote.
Yeah.
Almost kind of like, why is this even in here? Mm-hmm. Was the takeaway I had from it, which is really disappointing because I love, my HomeKit stuff. I have lights and cameras and motion sensors and I want the system to continue to grow, and it will, because the one cool thing they did announce was the consortium Matter. All the big tech companies are making all their IoT stuff is going to work better together, and it's going to be built on Thread, which is really awesome. But again, it's just more waiting. So it's a little frustrating from that standpoint.
I like the third-party integration. They showed the Ecobee working with Siri, the Ecobee thermostat. Yeah, I have an Ecobee thermostat, and I know that it's kind of a pain that it only now. Okay, here's the thing: it works with Alexa. So if I want to turn off my living room lights, I can use my Ecobee thermostat that has Alexa built into it to do that. But I have my phone on me. I have my watch right on my wrist, and I can pretty much, I can evoke Siri to do all the same stuff from other devices in the room. So I don't know. I like the fact that it's capable. Mm-hmm. And every so often you ask the lady in a tube, the Amazon product to do that. And I get the return of, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. It's like, what? And then Siri does it just fine. I used to do this thing where I would shame Alexa by using Siri right in front of her.
A little messed up.
Oh yeah, that's funny. So the only other thing that I've got on my notes here that they talked about was just all the developer stuff, which, not being a developer, I didn't really pay that much attention to it, and I can't say that I understood a whole lot.
Xcode in the cloud.
Now, I thought that was cool, and I know that I've heard developers talk about build times and stuff like that, and how that's been, they'd like to see that improved. And I think, maybe there's some hope that having that stuff in the cloud will speed the processes up and stuff like that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The funny thing is the Xcode in the cloud isn't even available until the fall, and then it's a beta. Yeah. So it won't even be fully rolled out until 2022.
And now understand, Upgrade's the only podcast I've had the opportunity to listen to this last week, but they talked about the possibility that this is going to be a service that is going to be offered.
Oh yeah, it is
for pay.
Yeah, for sure.
Did they say that or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said subscription. Yeah, okay. It's definitely
I didn't catch that part.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The only other thing we have on our list is hardware. And you got the point on that one too. So
yes, there was zero hardware announcements.
Zero hardware. I thought for sure they would announce something. But well, if we were to keep score on this, so you would have won. So
no, it's a good thing we are keeping score, and I did win.
Man, I got shut out hard. Yeah. I don't know how this happened.
Yep. Look at that clean sheet.
Yeah. Well, that shows my passion then, apparently. But anyway. Well, what's delighting you today, Cam?
I put a little seating patio area together over the last couple of days on the back of the house. I got 15 bags of mulch, and I already had a picnic table, but I covered up this really useless part of my backyard that was just ugly and broken. And I covered it up with 15 bags of mulch, and I put my patio set out there, my chairs and my table, and I got some tiki torches, and I'm getting my I have a nice like 9-foot umbrella out there for the shade, and it's been quite pleasant to sit out there and enjoy an evening. Not so much the afternoons because it's like in the mid to upper 90s these past few days and humid as all get out. But once the sun goes down, it's quite pleasant out back. So it's nice, and we'll have some folks over here in the coming weeks to enjoy dinner outside, perhaps. So it's just nice to do a little work on the house and turn a previously, sore spot into a nice, functional, enjoyable space.
Sure.
That's what's delighting me.
That. Cool.
And it's something that I can continue to use.
So something I did want to talk about in this segment that relates to the next episode. Do you watch a lot of YouTube channels at all?
I do enjoy YouTube, yes.
Okay. Have you heard of Ordinary Adventures?
I have not.
Okay. So Ordinary Adventures is a YouTube channel that they do. It's Peter and Kitra. They live out in California, and they have annual passes to your Universal Studios, your Disney stuff, everything, and they do trips to these resorts or to these parks. And basically what it comes down to is I discovered them because I was looking for I was researching a lot of what to do at Galaxy's Edge and Universal Studios and stuff like that. And there was a few other channels that we viewed for that, like the Potter Collectors channel. I forget the guy's name, but he does some really cool stuff on the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and other things. There was a few other channels that I watched for just learning about the lightsabers and stuff like that. But Peter and Kitra on Ordinary Adventures were 90% of my viewing to get prepared for Galaxy's Edge. And so much of what they talked about on the channel helped me out when it came to getting there and enjoying the experience. It was such good advice. So I'm standing waiting for my wife to come out of the bathroom at Galaxy's Edge, or the refresher as they call it. And a woman walks past me, and I'm like, that was Kitra, I think. And understand, we're in Florida. We're not in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd kind of heard that they might be in town in Florida, in Orlando for something else. They then ended up that they were there to ride the Velocicoaster at Universal Studios to review it, because it opened like the week that we were there this last week. And so she walked past, and I'm like, that totally looked like Kitra. Now, anybody that's seen the channel knows she has a fairly distinctive look. And so I'm like, my wife comes out of the bathroom, and I was like, hon, I'm like 90% sure I just saw Kitra walk past. And she's like, oh, okay. So we went about our business. My wife wanted to run back over to the market, which at Galaxy's Edge is a collection of little shops. It's just a small little area that they have, I think, like 4 or 5 different shops at. And so we went over there, and I was like, well, just keep an eye out. She had a tie-dyed shirt on, and I hadn't seen Peter at all, so I wasn't 100% sure that it was her. So we're standing in line to get back into the marketplace. Because of COVID, they only allowed so many people into the marketplace at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're standing in line, and we weren't in line for more than maybe 10, 15 minutes. And as we're getting to the front of the line, my wife noticed somebody approaching some people that we couldn't see down around the corner that were also in line. And when I kind of looked out around the corner, 100% it was Peter and Kitra. So they were in line back maybe 20 people behind us in line.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got into the marketplace, and I kind of kept my eye out for when they got into the marketplace. And so there was a perfect opportunity for us to walk up and talk to him. So I walked up and I thanked him right away. Just said, thanked him so much for the channel and all the work that they do. And I'm sure they have a blast doing it. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But we stood there and had a good, nice 10-minute conversation with them. And they, we told them that we were there on our 20th anniversary trip, and they wished us a happy anniversary, and it was really cool. Like I really thought that it was just a cool little, like, it was almost the highlight of my, actually, I think it was the highlight of my day to meet them and talk to them a little bit, because they were super cool. So, and then we left the Galaxy's Edge portion of Hollywood Studios to go run to our lockers and take care of a couple of things. We come walking back in, and they recognize us. They wave to us and then wish us a happy anniversary again, and just in passing. And so it was really neat. So
that's cool.
So yeah, it was one of those things that, it was a really cool personal touch that we had during the day. And I was,
and it helps, maybe restore a little bit of faith in humanity, that there are decent humans out there.
Oh, and still, and they were so nice and so giving. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm super excited. I was super excited to meet them. And if you get a chance, check out Ordinary Adventures on YouTube. So
yeah, I'll for sure check the channel out now. I never heard of it before. So
yeah. So yeah, their video, the latest video that they put out was them riding the Velocicoaster. And it was hilarious. Peter almost lost his glasses. They had a little, I must have been a GoPro camera or whatever in front of them on the roller coaster. So you get this view, this like point of view camera of them riding the coaster, and it was just hilarious watching them. So, but very cool.
Very good.
All right. Well, I would make my Sylvanus Muck is the name of my Kowakian monkey lizard. I would make him laugh, but I had to take him off my shoulder. Oh, I could still do that.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, shut up, dude. All right. He just didn't stop, and there was yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me, but okay.
No, I was talking to Sylvanus here. All right. Well, if you want to check out more about us, you can check out innerdialogue.show. And I am Mitch Craig on the Twitters.
I'm at Cam Brennan, but I'm way more active on Instagram than Twitter. So say hi over there.
Yeah, and check us both out on Instagram as well. I'm Radio Mitch on Instagram. And you can check out all my pictures and videos from our vacation there as well. So I posted primarily to Instagram so that I could cross post to Facebook, because that's where my mom was going to see the pictures, and she was excited to see them all. So very cool.
Your mom's on Facebook.
My mom's on Facebook, even though I'm really not anymore. I have an account, but I don't really use it. What's the matter with my mom being on Facebook?
I have the giggles now, Mitch. I can't stop it.
Okay. All right. Well, Cam, it's been fun.
It has been. I'm just putting in the final score here on our show doc.
Jerk.
Victory is mine.
I got to figure out where the speaker is on this thing. All right. Well, Cam, it's been fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were still recording.
We are. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.
I got to get over here and turn it off.